Growing up, I always knew my sister Lily was the family favorite. It wasn't something anyone said out loud. They didn't have to. You could see it in the way my mother's eyes lit up whenever Lily entered a room, or how my father would drop everything to attend her dance recitals. I was the practical one, the responsible one, the one who saved every penny from her after-school jobs, while Lily floated through life on charm and promises. My name is Zara, and I thought I had finally figured out how to make my own dreams come true. That was until last Saturday, when everything fell apart during what should have been a simple family dinner. "I can't wait to start classes next month," I said, spooning mashed potatoes onto my plate. "The business program at Georgetown is exactly what I need to launch my startup." Mom smiled weakly, avoiding eye contact. Dad suddenly became very interested in his green beans. Only Lily, perched at the head of the table in her usual spot of honor, maintained her megawatt smile. "About that, honey," Dad cleared his throat. "We need to discuss something." The potato-laden spoon froze halfway to my plate. "What's wrong?" "Well," Dad glanced at Lily, who was now examining her perfectly manicured nails. "There's been a situation with your college fund." My stomach dropped. "What kind of situation?" "Lily needed to borrow some money for the wedding." Mom jumped in, her voice unnaturally high. "Just temporarily, of course." "Some money?" I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. "How much?" "All of it," Dad admitted. "The entire savings account." The room started spinning. 6 years of savings, every birthday check, every summer job, every overtime shift at the coffee shop, gone. $48,000 vanished into the black hole of Lily's wedding preparations. "It's not a big deal," Lily waved her hand dismissively. "Enzo and I will get tons of wedding gifts. I'll pay you back right after the honeymoon." I gripped the edge of the table. "You took my college fund for centerpieces and party favors?" "Don't be dramatic," Lily rolled her eyes. "This is my wedding we're talking about. It's the most important day of my life." "And what about my life?" I stood up so quickly my chair scraped against the floor. "Georgetown starts in 4 weeks." "You can take out loans like everyone else," Lily shrugged. "Or maybe take a gap year. It might be good for you to learn to relax a little." "Relax?" I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. "You stole my future." "Borrowed," Mom corrected gently. "She borrowed it." "Did anyone plan to ask me first?" I looked around the table, but no one would meet my eyes. "Or were you all just going to wait until tuition was due?" "Honey, sit down." Dad reached for my hand. "We'll figure something out." "Figure something out?" I yanked my hand away. "Like you figured out how to let Lily drain my account without my permission. That's illegal, Dad. Don't be such a killjoy." Lily stood up, smoothing her designer dress. "This is why you never have any fun, Zara. Everything's always doom and gloom with you. The money will come back, I promise." "Your promises mean nothing," I spat. "They never have." "Girls, please," Mom's voice cracked. "Can we just have a nice family dinner?" "Family?" I grabbed my purse from the back of my chair. "A real family doesn't steal from each other." I stormed out of the dining room, ignoring their calls to come back. In the driveway, I fumbled with my car keys, hands shaking so badly I could barely get them in the ignition. My phone buzzed, a text from Lily. "Don't be such a drama queen, it's just money. Just money. Just my entire future, casually sacrificed on the altar of Lily's endless wants." As I drove away from my childhood home, tears blurring my vision, I made a promise to myself. This wouldn't be the end of my dreams, and it wouldn't be the end of this story. I pulled over and called my best friend Ariel. "Hey," my voice cracked. "Remember how you said I was too nice for my own good?" "What happened?" she asked immediately. "Lily stole my college fund. All of it. For her wedding." There was a long pause. "Come over. Now. And Zara?" "Yeah? Being nice is overrated. Sometimes you need to fight fire with fire." As I turned my car toward Ariel's house, a strange calm settled over me. Lily had always been the star of our family show, but she'd forgotten one crucial detail. In every good story, the supporting character eventually gets tired of being pushed into the background. and I was very, very tired of being in the background. You need to go to New York anyway, Ariel said, pushing a mug of tea across her kitchen counter. That venture capitalist loved your business proposal. Don't let Lily rob you of that opportunity, too. I stared into my tea. The meeting's in 3 days. I can't even afford the plane ticket now. Use my credit card. She pulled it from her wallet. Pay me back when you're a successful CEO. Ariel, I can't. You can, and you will. She slid the card toward me. Besides, I want to see Lily's face when you make it big without her precious wedding fund. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Lily. Mum's crying because of you. Way to ruin dinner. I need to confront her, I stood up suddenly. Face to face, no more texts, no more avoiding. Want backup? I shook my head. This is between sisters. 20 minutes later, I pulled up to Lily's new house, a wedding gift from Enzo's parents. She opened the door in silk pajamas, looking annoyed. Finally decided to stop being dramatic, she asked. I pushed past her into the marble-floored foyer. Where's my money, Lily? Lower your voice, she hissed. Enzo's in his office. Perfect. Let's tell him how you funded this wedding. She grabbed my arm. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I yanked free. 6 years of savings, Lily. My entire future. Oh, please, she rolled her eyes. You're acting like I committed some horrible crime. It's just a loan between sisters. A loan requires permission. This was theft. Mom and Dad agreed. It wasn't their money to give. My voice echoed off the high ceilings. How would you feel if I took your wedding dress and sold it? That's different, she crossed her arms. This is my wedding. And this was my education. I stepped closer. My chance to start my business, my shot at independence. But you never thought about that, did you? Because you never think about anyone but yourself. Fine, she threw up her hands. I'll write you a check right now for 5,000. Happy? I laughed bitterly. 5,000 out of 48,000. That's all I can spare right now. The flowers alone cost... I don't care about your flowers, I was shouting now. I want all of it, Lily, every penny. Well, I don't have it, she shouted back. The money's spent, okay, but you'll get it back from the wedding gifts, I promise. More promises. I shook my head. You know what? Keep the money. Keep your promises. Keep playing the perfect daughter while I pick up the pieces. But remember this moment, Lily. Remember what you did. Is that a threat? She narrowed her eyes. It's a warning. You've gotten away with everything your whole life because I let you. Not anymore. What's going on? Enzo appeared in the doorway looking concerned. I heard shouting. Lily's face transformed instantly into a sweet smile. Just sister stuff, honey. Zara was leaving. I looked at her perfect house, her perfect fiancé, her perfect life built on stealing other people's dreams. Yeah, I was. Congratulations on the wedding, Enzo. I hope you know what you're marrying. Back in my car, I pulled out my phone and booked a flight to New York using Ariel's card. Then I called Matthew Griffin's office. Mr. Griffin's assistant speaking. This is Zara. I'll be there for Thursday's meeting. Wonderful. Mr. Griffin is particularly interested in your proposal for sustainable urban farming technology. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Tell him I'm not leaving New York without a deal. That night, I lay in bed staring at my ceiling, remembering all the times I'd covered for Lily, cleaned up her messes, kept her secrets. The perfect sister act had cost me everything, but it had taught me something valuable. Sometimes the only way to win is to play the game better than your opponent. My phone lit up with a text from Mum. Please don't do anything rash, honey. Family is everything. I typed back, You're right, Mom. Family is everything. That's why this hurts so much. Then I opened my laptop and started researching New York property laws. If Lily wanted to play with real estate, using my money to fund her perfect little life, then maybe it was time to learn the rules of that game too. After all, every fairy tale wedding needs a perfect house to come home to, and I was done letting Lily write the ending to this story. New York hit me like a wall of noise and motion. My hands trembled as I checked into the cheapest hotel I could find in Manhattan. a cramped room that probably cost more than my monthly rent back home. But I wasn't here for comfort. I was here for revenge disguised as opportunity. The morning of my meeting, I stood in front of the mirror adjusting my only business suit. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. "Mum says you're in New York. Don't do anything stupid." I deleted it without responding and headed to Matthew Griffin's office in Midtown. The receptionist looked up from her desk. "You must be Zara. You're early." "Better early than never," I smiled, gripping my portfolio tighter. "Mr. Griffin is running late. Market crisis in Singapore. Would you like some coffee?" 45 minutes and 2 cups of coffee later, my leg wouldn't stop bouncing. When Matthew finally burst through the door, he barely looked up from his phone. "Walk with me," he said, turning right back around. "I've got another meeting in an hour." I scrambled to follow him into the elevator. "Mr. Griffin, Matthew," he corrected, still typing. "Tell me why I should invest in urban farms when the market's crashing." "Because people need to eat regardless of the market," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "And my vertical farming technology reduces water usage by 60% while tripling yield per square foot." The elevator stopped. He finally looked up. "Prove it." We ended up in a small conference room where I spread out my designs and projections. My hands shook less with each page I turned. "These numbers look good," he said, studying a chart. "Too good." "I can demonstrate the prototype right now." He raised an eyebrow. "You brought a prototype?" I pulled out my tablet and opened the 3D modeling software. "This is a virtual simulation, but I also have a working mini-model in my hotel room. You lugged farming equipment to New York." "I don't leave things to chance," I met his eyes. "Not anymore." He studied me for a long moment. "There's a story there." "There's always a story." I pulled up another simulation. "But right now, let's focus on how this technology can revolutionize urban food production." For the next 40 minutes, I walked him through every detail, every projection, every potential problem and solution. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. "Your passion is evident," he said. "But passion doesn't guarantee success." "No," I agreed, "but determination does. And I'm determined to make this work." "Why?" "Because someone recently taught me that nothing is guaranteed unless you take control of it yourself." He smiled slightly. "Careful, revenge isn't a sustainable business model." "This isn't about revenge," I lied smoothly. "It's about proving what I'm capable of." His phone buzzed. He glanced at it and stood up. "I have another meeting, but I'm intrigued. Come back tomorrow, same time. Bring your physical prototype." "I'll be here." I started gathering my materials. "And Zara?" He paused at the door. "Whatever drove you here, channel it. Anger makes for good fuel, but it's passion that wins in the long run." Back in my hotel room, I called Ariel. "How did it go?" she asked immediately. "He wants to see more tomorrow." I collapsed onto the bed, but he saw right through me. "Is that bad?" "I don't know." I stared at the ceiling. "But it's better than how Lily looks right through me." Speaking of Lily, my phone lit up with another text from her. "Dad's asking about legal documents for the wedding gifts. What did you say to him?" I smiled and typed back, "Nothing yet, but thanks for reminding me." Then I opened my laptop and started drafting an email to Dad, carefully outlining property law regarding gifts and debt repayment. He was an accountant. He'd understand the implications. My prototype sat on the desk, its tiny plants growing under LED lights, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around them. Just like Lily was blissfully unaware that her perfect little world was about to face some unexpected weather. Tomorrow I'd show Matthew exactly what I could do with the right resources. And then I'd show Lily exactly what happened when you underestimated the quiet sister. My phone buzzed one more time. "Mom, please come home. We can work this out as a family." I replied, "I am working it out, Mom, just not the way you expect." Then I turned back to my prototype, adjusting the nutrient flow and checking the growth metrics. Tomorrow would be about business, but every number I recorded, every detail I perfected, was another step towards something bigger than revenge. It was about reclaiming what was mine and maybe taking a little extra for interest. Back home, the wedding chaos was in full swing. I sat in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by Lily's rejected centerpiece samples, waiting for Matthew's call. Mom poked her head in every few minutes, desperately trying to maintain the facade of normalcy. "Honey, would you help us pick between ivory and cream for the table runners?" "They're the same color, Mom." "But the undertones." My phone rang. Matthew's name flashed on the screen. "I need to take this," I said, already heading for the door. "But Lily's coming over to—" I closed the door behind me and answered the call in the backyard. "Hello?" "Zara." Matthew's voice was crisp. "I've reviewed your proposal with my partners." My heart stopped. "And?" "We're interested. Very interested. But there are conditions." I sat on the old swing set where Lily and I used to play. "I'm listening." "First, we want 60% equity." 40. I countered immediately. "I need controlling interest." He chuckled. 51.49. Our favor. Non-negotiable. I gripped the swing's chain tighter. "What else?" "You'll need to relocate to New York. Immediately. We want this launched within 6 months." 6 months? I watched through the window as Lily swept into the house, arms full of shopping bags. "I can do it in 4. "Ambitious. I like it. There's one more thing." "What's that?" "Full commitment, no distractions, no family drama, no revenge plots." I closed my eyes. "How did you—" "I've been doing this a long time, Zara. I recognize determination born from desperation. Whatever personal vendetta you're planning, drop it. This is business." Inside, I could hear Lily's laugh floating through the open window. "What if I told you the personal and professional are connected? I'd tell you to choose. Right now." A memory flashed. Lily and me on these same swings, promising to always have each other's backs. Before she became the star, and I became the shadow. Before she stole my future. "When do you need my answer?" "Tomorrow. The paperwork's being drawn up." "But Zara?" "Yes." "Choose wisely. Revenge might feel good, but success feels better." I ended the call and walked back inside. Lily was showing Mom yet another wedding dress, this one probably worth more than my stolen savings. "Oh, good, you're here," Lily beamed. "Tell Mom this dress is worth the extra 10,000. 10,000, I repeated. "On top of the first dress?" "The first one wasn't perfect," she waved dismissively. "This one is everything." Mom wrung her hands. "Maybe we could return some of the other things." "Mom!" Lily's voice rose to that familiar whine. "This is my special day." My phone buzzed. An email from Matthew with the contract attached. I opened it, scanning the terms while Lily continued her dress monologue. "Zara?" Mom touched my arm. "Are you okay? You look pale." "I'm fine," I smiled, an idea forming. "Actually, Lily's right. The dress is perfect." Both of them stared at me. "Really?" Lily looked suspicious. "Absolutely. It's your special day after all. Everything should be perfect." Mom's relief was palpable. "That's the spirit, honey. In fact," I continued, "I was thinking about the house too." Lily perked up. "Enzo's parents' wedding gift? Isn't it amazing?" "It is. Have they transferred the deed yet?" "Next week. Why?" I kept my voice casual. "Just wondering about the legal stuff. You know how Dad is about documentation." "Speaking of Dad," Mom interjected, "he's been asking about your college situation." "Everything's fine," I said, still reading the contract. "Better than fine, actually. I have a meeting tomorrow that might change everything." "Oh, thank goodness," Mom hugged me. "I knew you'd forgive your sister." I hugged her back, watching Lily over her shoulder. "Of course. Family is everything, right, Lily?" Lily nodded uncertainly, probably wondering what had caused my sudden mood shift. Later that night, I called Ariel. "Matthew offered the deal," I said without preamble. "That's amazing. But why don't you sound happy?" "He wants me to drop the revenge plan." "And?" I looked at the property laws I'd been researching. "I think I found a way to do both." "Zara." Trust me, I said, pulling up the contract on my screen. Sometimes the best revenge is simply making sure everyone gets exactly what they deserve. I signed the contract and sent it back to Matthew. Then I texted Lily. You're right. The dress is perfect. Everything should be perfect for your wedding. Every single thing. She replied immediately with a row of heart emojis. If only she knew that perfection, like revenge, was all in the details. And I was about to become very, very detail-oriented. The next morning, Dad called a family meeting. We gathered around the dining room table, the same one where my world had imploded just weeks ago. Lily was late, as usual. Sorry, she breezed in, wedding binder in hand. The florist had a crisis. Sit down, Dad said, uncharacteristically stern. We need to discuss finances. Lily's smile faltered. What about them? I've been reviewing the numbers. He spread several papers on the table. And the situation with Zara's savings. Dad, we already discussed this, Lily sighed. I'll pay her back after... After what? I interrupted. After you spend another $50,000 on dresses. Mom reached for my hand. Girls, please. Actually, Dad cleared his throat. I found a solution. Lily, the house from Enzo's parents. What about it? Lily's voice sharpened. Since it's a wedding gift, and you used Zara's money for the wedding, he slid a document forward. The fair thing would be to put Zara's name on the deed as well. The room went silent. Lily's face turned red. Absolutely not, she snapped. That house is my wedding gift. Bought with my money, I reminded her. Borrowed, she shrieked. I borrowed it. Without permission, Dad said quietly, which legally makes it theft. Lily's eyes filled with tears. You wouldn't press charges. We're family. No, I leaned forward. But I could sue you in civil court. How would that look at your perfect wedding? You're bluffing, but her voice wavered. Try me. Mom stood up suddenly. There must be another way. There is. I pulled out my own document. Sign over 20% of the house value to me. Consider it interest on my stolen savings. It wasn't stolen. Lily slammed her hands on the table. Mum and Dad gave me permission. We didn't have the right to, Dad admitted. It was wrong, Lily. Lily looked between us, mascara starting to run. This isn't fair. It's my wedding, my house, my happy ending. And my future you stole. I kept my voice level. Sign the papers, Lily. Or what? Or I'll tell Enzo everything, including how you really paid for that $10,000 dress. She stared at me, recognition dawning. You've changed. No, I stood up. I've just stopped letting you take everything from me. My phone buzzed. Matthew. Paperwork processed. Welcome aboard. When can you start? I smiled at Lily. Think it over, sis, but don't take too long. I'm moving to New York soon, and I'd hate to leave this unresolved. New York? Mom gasped. But the wedding? We'll be perfect, I assured her, especially once everything's properly documented. I left them at the table and went upstairs to pack. Ariel called almost immediately. Your dad texted me. Are you okay? Better than okay. I started pulling clothes from my closet. Everything's falling into place. The house thing is genius, she said, but kind of ruthless. I learned from the best. I paused at a photo of Lily and me as kids. She taught me that you have to take what you want in this world. And what do you want? Justice. I took the photo out of its frame. With interest. Footsteps on the stairs. Lily appeared in my doorway, eyes red but chin high. I'll sign, she said, but I want something in return. I waited. Tell everyone it was your idea. Your wedding gift to me. I can't. She swallowed hard. I can't let people know the truth. Still protecting your image. I shook my head. Some things never change. Please, Zara, I'll sign whatever you want. Just help me save face. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Behind the perfect makeup and designer clothes, I saw something new. Fear. She was afraid of losing her carefully constructed facade, just like I had been afraid of losing my dreams. Okay, I said finally. I'll keep your secret, one last time. She rushed forward to hug me, but I stepped back. Don't. I held up a hand. This isn't forgiveness, Lily. This is business. She nodded, composing herself. When do you leave for New York? Next week. Just in time to miss all the wedding preparations. But you'll be at the wedding, right? I smiled, thinking of the plans already in motion. Wouldn't miss it for the world. After she left, I texted Matthew. Everything's handled, ready to focus on business. His reply came quickly. Good. Remember, success is the best revenge. Don't worry, I whispered to my empty childhood room. I plan to have both. The pre-wedding party was exactly as over-the-top as I expected. Lily had transformed the country club into something between a fairy tale and a circus, with crystal chandeliers hanging from every possible surface and enough flowers to fill a botanical garden. Your sister really knows how to throw a party, Ariel whispered, watching Lily hold court among her admirers. She knows how to spend money, I corrected, sipping champagne that probably cost more than my first month's rent in New York. Enzo's parents were showing off the house deed to anyone who would listen. Such a perfect starter home for the newlyweds, his mother gushed. Though I hear Zara's getting a piece of it too. How unusual. It's my wedding gift, I smiled sweetly, reciting the agreed-upon lie. Family should share in the joy, right, Lily? Lily's laugh sounded slightly strangled. My sister's always been so generous. Mom appeared at my elbow, anxiety radiating off her. Zara, honey, could you help in the kitchen? There's a situation with the canapes. In the kitchen, she grabbed my arm. What are you planning? Planning? I'm just enjoying the party. Don't lie to me, her voice dropped. I saw those papers you were reviewing this morning. What are you going to do? Nothing that Lily hasn't earned. I pulled away. Trust me, Mom. Everything's under control. That's what I'm afraid of. She pressed her hands to her temples. You've changed. Had to happen sometime. Back in the main room, Lily was opening pre-wedding gifts, exclaiming over each one with practiced delight. I watched her performance, remembering all the times she'd practiced those same expressions in our shared bathroom mirror as teenagers. And this one's from Zara, she announced, reaching for a small, elegantly wrapped box. The room went quiet. Everyone knew about our recent tensions, despite the careful public facade. Lily opened the box and pulled out a single key on a silver chain. Her hands trembled slightly. It's beautiful, she said, but her eyes asked the question. What does this mean? Every home needs a spare key, I said loud enough for everyone to hear, especially when it's shared among family. Enzo frowned. Shared? Just a technicality, Lily jumped in quickly. Zara's so thoughtful, including herself in our first home. Speaking of homes, I raised my voice slightly. Has everyone heard about my exciting news? I'm moving to New York next week, starting my own company. The crowd murmured appreciatively, but I kept my eyes on Lily. How wonderful, Enzo's mother exclaimed. But what about the wedding? Oh, I wouldn't miss it, I assured her. I've got everything perfectly planned out. Lily's champagne glass shook so hard she had to set it down. A toast, Dad called out, clearly trying to diffuse the tension. To new beginnings. To new beginnings, everyone echoed. And to getting exactly what we deserve, I added quietly, touching my glass to Lily's. Later, as the party wound down, Lily cornered me in the powder room. Whatever you're planning, she hissed, don't you dare ruin my wedding. Like you ruined my future. I signed the house papers. What more do you want? I checked my lipstick in the mirror. Want? I don't want anything, Lily. I'm just making sure everything's perfect. Isn't that what you always say? Everything has to be perfect? You're scaring me, she whispered. Good. I turned to face her. Maybe now you understand how I felt when I discovered you'd stolen my savings. I said I was sorry. No, I corrected her. You actually never did. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Exactly. I moved past her toward the door. By the way, that key, keep it safe. You might need it sooner than you think. What does that mean? You'll see. At the wedding. I left her standing there, mascara smudged and perfect facade cracking. Outside, Ariel was waiting by her car. "You okay?" she asked. "Perfect," I smiled. "Everything's going perfectly." My phone buzzed with a text from Matthew. "Contracts all set for next week, no turning back now," I replied. "Wouldn't dream of it. Just one loose end to tie up at home." "Remember our deal," he wrote back. "Business first." "Don't worry," I texted. "This is definitely business." I looked back at the country club, where Lily was now being consoled by Mom. The perfect daughter, the perfect bride, the perfect sister who could do no wrong. Well, perfection was about to get a reality check, and I had front row seats to the show. The wedding day arrived with picture-perfect weather, as if even nature was conspiring to give Lily her fairy tale. I sat in the bridal suite, watching my sister fuss with her $10,000 dress, while our mother fluttered around her like an anxious butterfly. "Everything has to be perfect," Lily kept repeating, adjusting her veil for the 100th time. "It will be," I promised, patting my purse where the final contract lay folded. "Trust me." Mom shot me a worried look. "Zara, please." "What?" I smiled innocently. "I'm just being supportive." The ceremony went exactly as planned. Of course it did, with Lily orchestrating every moment. She floated down the aisle like a princess. Enzo beamed like a prince, and their vows were straight out of a romantic movie. I waited. The reception began with champagne and perfectly choreographed dances. I waited. The toast started. Dad stood up first, emotional and proud. Mum followed, dabbing at her eyes with an embroidered handkerchief. Then it was my turn. I approached the microphone, contract in hand. Lily's face went pale. "My sister Lily," I began, "has always known exactly what she wants, and she's always known how to get it." Nervous laughter from the crowd. "Some of you might know that recently, Lily needed help funding this beautiful wedding. Being the devoted sister she is, she found a creative solution." Lily half rose from her seat. Enzo put a hand on her arm. "She borrowed my entire college fund," I continued pleasantly. "Without asking. But that's okay, because it led me to an amazing opportunity in New York, and it taught me something valuable about family and business." The room had gone completely silent. "So today, I'm giving Lily and Enzo a very special wedding gift. I've brought some paperwork that needs signing." "Zara," Dad warned. I pulled out the contract. "See, that beautiful house from Enzo's parents? The one Lily's been dreaming about. Well, thanks to some clever legal work and the fact that it was purchased with stolen money, it's now legally mine." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Enzo's parents stood up, faces red. "But don't worry," I smiled directly at Lily. "I'm willing to lease it back to you. At market rate, of course. Consider it an investment in your future, just like you invested my college fund in your wedding." "You can't do this," Lily's voice shook. "Actually, I can. The paperwork's already filed. Your 20% stake? That was just phase 1. While you were planning this perfect day, I was planning something else." Enzo grabbed the contract, scanning it with increasingly angry eyes. "Is this true? Did you steal her money for our wedding?" Lily burst into tears. "I was going to pay it back." "With what?" I asked calmly. "The wedding gifts. Sorry, but those are already legally allocated to cover my losses. Dad helped with the paperwork." Dad wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. "So congratulations." I raised my champagne glass. "Welcome to your new life as my tenants. Don't worry about the deposit. I'll deduct it from what you owe me." The room erupted in chaos. Enzo's parents were shouting about fraud. Mom was crying. Lily had collapsed into her chair, perfect makeup running down her face. "You've ruined everything," she sobbed. "No," I corrected her. "I just made sure everyone got exactly what they deserved. By the way, I'm raising the rent next month. Inflation, you know." I turned to leave, but Enzo blocked my path. "This isn't over," he growled. "Actually, it is. Ask your lawyer. Everything's perfectly legal. Oh, and the first month's rent is due next week. I'll expect it before I leave for New York." Ariel appeared at my side, grinning. Need a getaway driver? Perfect timing, I linked arms with her. I think the party's about to get a little uncomfortable. As we walked out, I heard Lily's wail. But what about my perfect ending? I paused at the door. That's the thing about endings, sis. They're only perfect if you've earned them. In Ariel's car, my phone lit up with a text from Matthew. Just saw the property transfer complete. Ruthless. You'll do well in New York. I typed back, learned from the best, see you Monday. Another text popped up, this one from Dad. Was this really necessary? Yes, I replied. Some lessons need to be expensive to stick. Ariel pulled onto the highway. Feel better? I looked back at the venue, where my perfect sister's perfect day had perfectly imploded. You know what? I smiled. I really do. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just serving cold justice, it's making sure it's served with a side of perfect irony. My phone rang as I finished unpacking my last box in my New York apartment. Lily's name flashed on the screen. After 3 weeks of silence, this should be interesting. Hello? I'm sorry. Her voice was small, nothing like the confident sister I knew. I'm so sorry. I sat on my windowsill, watching the city lights flicker. For what exactly? Everything. The money, the lies, taking you for granted. She paused. Being a terrible sister. Keep going. Enzo left, she whispered. After the wedding, when everything came out, he said he couldn't trust me. Karma's interesting that way. Mom and Dad barely speak to me. Dad's been going through all my old accounts, finding other things I've borrowed over the years. I closed my eyes. How much? More than I want to admit. She sniffled. The house. I understand why you did it. Do you? You wanted me to feel what you felt. Helpless, betrayed, scared about the future. And? It worked. Her voice cracked. I'm moving back in with Mom and Dad. I can't afford the rent you set. I know, I said quietly. That was the point. Silence stretched between us, filled with years of unspoken resentments and missed opportunities. Your company launched yesterday, she said finally. I saw the news. Urban farming technology. It's impressive. Thank you. That's what you wanted the money for, wasn't it? To build something real. Unlike a perfect wedding that lasted 3 hours. She laughed weakly. Yeah, unlike that. My other line beeped. Matthew calling. I have to go. Business meeting. Wait, she said quickly. What do I do now? How do I fix this? Start by paying back everything you've taken. Not just from me, from everyone. That could take years. Welcome to consequences, sis. They're not always perfect, but they're always fair. After hanging up, I answered Matthew's call. We got the green light for the pilot program, he said without preamble. The city wants 50 units installed by spring. Perfect timing. I just finished a very enlightening conversation with my sister. Let me guess, reality finally hit. Like a ton of very expensive bricks. Good. Now focus on building something bigger than revenge. After we hung up, I opened my laptop to check my accounts. The first rent payment from Lily's dream house had cleared. Exactly the amount I'd needed for startup costs. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Your sister's home. She's different. Humbled. Is this what you wanted? I typed back, no. What I wanted was my sister back. The real one, not the perfect facade. And now? I thought about Lily's broken voice, about karma and consequences, about the difference between revenge and justice. Now I want her to learn what I learned, that you can lose everything and still build something better. Mom replied, she's asking about your business, wants to understand what she took from you. Tell her to check her email. I just sent her my business plan, the original one, the one I never got to show her before. Minutes later, my phone rang again. Lily. This is amazing, she said immediately. The sustainability metrics, the urban development impact. Why didn't you tell me? I tried. You were too busy planning your perfect wedding. I was an idiot, she paused. The lease agreement. Would you consider letting me work it off instead? I could help with the administrative side of your company. Remote work, obviously. I smiled despite myself. You'd have to start at the bottom. No shortcuts. I know. I'm ready to earn things for once. Send me your resume. A real one, not an embellished one. Really? Really? But Lily? Yes? Mess this up, and you're not just losing a job. You're losing your last chance at having a sister. I understand. Her voice strengthened. I won't let you down, not this time. After we hung up, I stood at my window, watching New York pulse with energy and possibility. My phone buzzed one last time. Ariel. Did you just hire your sister? Maybe. Depends on if she's learned her lesson. And have you learned yours? I thought about revenge and redemption, about perfect facades and real connections. Yeah, I said, watching the sunset paint the city gold. I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's giving someone the chance to be better. Even if they don't deserve it. Especially then, I smiled, because that's when it stops being revenge and starts being growth. And maybe, just maybe, that was the most perfect ending of all.